And I guess the sharing stopped. Share again. Here we go. Should be able to see the screen.
Yes.
And yeah, great. So then, this is the annual update of the ELISA project. We start with some project overview. I'm Philip. I'm the technical steering committee chair of the project. So I have the honor to open and close this 2 days. And yeah, I start with the overview to be on a more generic perspective, overall perspective of the project. It's very brief, just 10 minutes. So we jump a little bit over it. There's a lot of ways to reach out to us. I'll have a slide for this later. First of all, we should spend the time to say welcome. So it's really great that you join the virtual update. For me, it's always surprising. I attend a bunch of workgroup meetings. It's always cool to see what happens over a year and what the new activities are for the coming year. So jumping into the agenda, we're right in the ELISA project overview, get an update from the tools workgroup, the OSAP or open source engineering process workgroup, go into architecture and the Linux features for safety critical systems. Interesting, these are mostly the horizontals. And then we have aerospace, medical devices, automotive, which form together with space-grade Linux. On the second day, the verticals. The systems basically integrate all of these, so they kind of belong to it, and it gave us a better split. For those new to ELISA, ELISA project is the Enabling Linux and Safety Applications project. We try to increase dependability and reliability for the whole Linux ecosystem. It's not only safety critical applications and definitely beyond the security part. The use cases you can see from the different work groups. And yeah, we're also supported by major industrial grade Linux distributors, people who know what they're doing, how to reach forward. And we also interact a lot with other communities. So you'll see this later also how we, for example, interact with automotive grade Linux, Xen, Zephyr, and so on. At the end, our work should be reproducible, so it helps you to get forward. And then, yeah, this ends up in our deliverables, mainly elements, processes, and tools. Why do we take this endeavor? Well, the Linux system ecosystem differs a lot from a traditional safety critical OS. We see that we face certain challenges on both sides, like in modern complex system where there's a lot of computation performance, accelerators, and so on. You somehow need to enable all the features, or you need to enable it for safety. Specifically for Linux, compared to safety critical OS, memory management, dynamic memory allocation, caches, interrupt handling, the scheduling as such can be really points where you would like to understand how these things work. And in order to do so, we, from the ELISA project, we deliver a lot of tools, documentation. This can be system theoretic process analysis, STPA. We upload workload tracing so that you know and can check which system calls are done. You can get graphical representation. If you work with safety standards, you may want to have also requirements tracking properly into the Linux kernel world. There, Bazel is there. We did work on real-time analysis and all these, but we're limited in what we can do. And this is very important to understand. There are certain limitations. So the ELISA project will not make your system safe. And we also cannot guarantee that you ensure your following of a described processes, the methods we are describing. We will not create an out-of-tree Linux kernel safety for safety critical applications. We basically believe that you should go forward with the kernel because the kernel gets better and better over time. You just find more issues with it as the testing increases. But this is most likely the same thing for any other software as well, if you just put this rigor on checkings into it. Right. And last but not least, we're not taking the liability and don't release you from responsibility, legal obligations, and so on. What's interesting with all the things which we are not doing and cannot do, we found a good set of people who are willing to follow the ELISA mission, which basically says that we define and maintain a common set of elements, processes, and tools. So you don't see like that the mission says safe Linux system. That's not what we're doing. We write explicitly about elements, processes, and tools. And this should be incorporated into Linux-based safety critical systems. And these are amenable to safety certification. So that's where we are. That's where our members subscribe to. And our members are some premier members with Boeing and Red Hat, a bunch of general members, which are are added by associate members and industrial support. Also here we are growing. That's just like the very high basics, not really too much of help, but what's really in there and also technical strategy can fill an hour or more. It's just that I want to say we look into systems and checking whether the system is safe requires understanding sufficiently. That's what you can really feel in ELISA, that we want to understand how this Linux system works in the context of a system. We want to make sure that we know which components are used, which features are used, how they need to be evaluated for safety. We will sure find gaps and see where work is needed, and therefore we want to evaluate this further, and that's what we're doing. We're doing this in the horizontal work groups. All of them are presenting today beside the systems, which comes tomorrow. Leaders are Red Hat, Boeing, CodeThink, and Bosch. And from the vertical side, we have aerospace, automotive, and medical devices, while especially the medical devices, which start with the open artificial pancreas system, the analysis and work around this is very much complete. So therefore, we have a very good closed or finished work package here. The automotive still has a lot of things to do, but more about it tomorrow. To see where things get in, right? Engineering process, architecture, features all interact with each other. I think I missed the one or the other error because not everything is connected with everything, but basically that's how we work. That's also where the technical steering committee aligns from the different work groups and make sure we are having a constant flow and a good argumentation for the deliverables. And to put them into context, the verticals provide their use cases, requirements, expectations, constraints, whatever you have. Take also parts of what has been created to apply them to the use cases. That's basically just for living it and to give you examples. These are all clickable links. Presentations will be shared later. These are parts which we have. I guess requirements is not yet clickable, but we'll also hear about requirements, I'm pretty sure, in the architecture work. Right. Then just a very brief recap, as we have just like 5 minutes left. You will hear about recaps from every work group. You will also hear about an outlook. For my part, I now concentrate on the recap and I mainly look into what has been there as cross-work group achievements. And I put a slide with our new members and partners, project supporters, because it's really nice to see that we have also constant inflow of people and companies who believe in what we are doing and where we find similarities with other communities. We were very happy that we could showcase a demonstrator at the Embedded World last year, showing Linux, Xen, and Zephyr as 3 open source projects which have safety criticality in mind in an exhibition. We led our first Safe Systems with Linux micro conference at Linux Plumbers this year, which was also super cool, that we had not only seen some good insights into different ways of how others treat safety or understand safety in the Linux kernel, but we could also start discussing about the requirements model there. We hosted again safety critical software summits at the Open Source Summit, where 2 of them. We started the Space Great Linux Special Interest Group and had a great workshop at Another Goddard. This was one of the 2 in-person workshops. And on top, we also hosted 7 virtual seminars. We learned that the seminar series is really something which causes a lot of attractions. And in order to make all these results accessible, we figured out, oh, they're spread over so many places. So we also started the ELISA directory. It's an index for technical content. You can find it directly from ELISA Tech main page on the resources and then go to directory, or you go for the ELISA directory directly and jump back to whatever. So we try to get traceability around these things. Shortly on the members, mainly Canonical, EMQ, Honda, Join, and Lynx. as dedicated companies, Kernel CI and the Institute for Flugzeugsystemtechnik, so from the Technical University of Hamburg. They are more as associate members, supporting the mission, interacting and leading activities like from the AFST, also in direction of the aerospace activities and work group. And I'm very happy that we could grow as such during the last year. Right, then, short picture on the example system at Embedded World. You hear more about during the system work group update tomorrow. And you can also read a blog post then if you want to know a bit more details on this. I mentioned the safe systems with Linux. It was part of the plumbers. We had very good, deep discussions also with the kernel CI people there, with the requirements inside the kernel, where we try to manage expectations against subsystems, APIs, whatever in the kernel. I'm pretty sure Gab will tell us later more. And it was really great to have this direct exchange with Linux kernel community, direct interact with maintainers, also to hear proposing things, hearing what they expect, where we need to be careful. I still remember things like, oh, this will never work, and oh, this could be possible. Why not doing this instead, or why not add the other part? So this was really great. And this was just one element. We also had very good interactions with the Eclipse software-defined vehicle beyond the Linux Foundation activities. We went to DevFire meetups. We had the SPDX safety profile discussions and promoted this and supported in there. We built on Yocto AGL, and then in the demonstrator also put in Xen. So this is something where we mainly work with. I really want to put, and this is basically the pre-last slide. I want to put a stress on our seminars, which we conducted during last year. They had like generic safety elements or safety considerations with safety element out of context and automotive, certifying Linux, making Linux flyers and avionics, aerospace focus, but also tools like stress and GUs, testing, Cregit for getting traceability in the kernel CI as such, how they evolved over the time, or also qualifying Rust compiler. You can see it's really going left and right from what we're doing. And we already identified more for 25. We hope to have some on preempt RT, statistical path coverage, formal verification, something about SDV with cloud and high performance compute. So I would say you can stay curious on how the ELISA journey continues this year. And a lot of these things will be told to you by the following presenters. So therefore, I would say, please join the community if you haven't. You get updates on all the different topics I presented. And I say thank you for now and just finish, I guess, in the last 15 seconds, which we have left to swap. So therefore, I stop sharing and say thank you for joining the first intro and coming here today for the annual update.
Philip,
And
there's
I
a
guess the next is,
question
oh, yeah,
on Q&A from panels.
yes. I see no questions open. So
Oh,
I see a question, but I don't see any question. That's
it,
interesting.
okay, maybe I can read it out to you.
Yes.
His panel said, I would like to ask some questions, but for some of the questions will be answered. But the main question is if I can join as a member and contribute in building and development processes.
Yeah. So we're really open, right? And we're taking
Hello?
individuals as well as companies, if I got the question. And this is, you can just go on the join button, or you just write a mail to info@elisa.tech. I think that's the easiest entry point, which I point people to whenever you have something. Put it to info@elisa.tech. We can put it also in the chat, I guess. And then it typically reaches Min, and then she's perfect in distributing it to the right person. So also thanks a lot to the efforts you put in there, Min. So
Sure. So yeah, panels, we're an open source project. There are many ways to get involved. Take a look at the resources, how to contribute and participate. And of course, many member companies also support ELISA as an organization. And so we can point you to the resources as well.